Welcome to each one of you, and thank you very much for participating and accepting our invitation. My name is Riccardo Grassi. I'm an author, a journalist, and enjoy trying to activate things. I'm from Argentina, from Buenos Aires, though I'm based in Rome, Italy, and move around different places according to the circumstances. So this is an initiative implemented by the organization I'm the Director General for, which is called Citizens Platform on Climate Change and a Sustainable World, undertaking together with UNESCO's communication and information sector within the framework of COP26, though the will is to consider this like a starting point and to continue with these dialogues and outputs produced together with youth in Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and South Asia, for the time being, not all Asia. The scope of this is to empower youth leadership, and to do it through showing, thanks to knowledgeable youth, existing solutions, practices that are being implemented, and deliberately to grow the pressure on decision makers to take the decisions they should take and to decide to build a confrontation with big interests that are challenging the implementation of those solutions. So we already had the Latin American Youth Dialogue. This is the second one. Later today, we have the South Asia one, and within Saturday with the small island states. Then, coinciding, this happens within the context of the pre-COP26 summit that is taking place in Milan these days, this week. So we have agreed that each one of you will consider one topic. Now I will mention you, but when I give you the floor, I will make a brief introduction in each case. So with us, we have Ismail Farja, that is in Morocco, Dr. Jenna Onyema, this is in Nigeria, Dr. Michelle Ken, that is in Cameroon, S.I. Ohumu in Nigeria. She should be joining soon. She was here, but the connection stopped. And Joy Chiadika, also in Nigeria. So I would like to start, most of the issues that each one of you would like to consider, luckily focus on youth and also children. And so I would like to start with Dr. Jenna, that will focus the education issue in relation to ethical businesses, which is a relevant topic in every one of the places where we are working. Just one word about Citizens Platform. Is an independent communication and information initiative that counted from the very beginning. It was launched last year with UNESCO's support. It's not collateral to no other thing. It's about informing accurately in partnership with scientists, and that would be to eliminate confusion and to curb disinformation and fake news, and at the same time to cover best practices that are being implemented by citizens worldwide, and that falls into the inspire action component. So we have decided for the positive component of the climate change engagement, considering that there are many others already pointing the flaws and the difficulties and the problems and the degrees, etc., etc. So we felt that apart from the confusion because of the information, there was a need to show where to go what to do, because the big question is, what can I do? Jenna is a creative scientist with a formal background on health and beauty therapy that is currently building a plant-based Nigerian-made beauty and wellness brand, Skookies. She resides in northern Nigeria and has participated in several climate initiatives and cleanup campaigns, organizing free upcycle workshops. Jenna, to you.
Hello.
The floor.
Hello, everyone. Good day. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to have this talk with all of you. I hope these conversations can be the beginning of more like conscious steps in the fight to curb climate change here, not only here in Nigeria, but globally. Um, as Mr. Ricardo has said, I am a beauty and health specialist and also an eco warrior, as I like to deem myself. And currently, I'm presenting this webinar from northern Nigeria. So initially, I wanted to talk about ethical business practices, how we could promote it here in Nigeria. And then I started to think to myself, if there are a lot of big ethical brands, and no, there aren't. And I was wondering, why is that? I'm a very practical person, and I believe in getting grassroots answers for almost everything I do. So I decided to kind of conduct a mini survey. I just walked around like my neighborhood, drove around my city, and decided to start asking like small business owners their challenges here in Nigeria. Um, like, what were the challenges they faced? Why is it difficult for them to kind of upscale? And I was kind of surprised to find out something entirely different. So some of the challenges, obviously, as we know, a lot of them complained about funds, infrastructure, bad roads, insecurity. A lot of them complained about tedious bureaucracy. And that's something I personally face in my small business, with NAFDAC and everything. It's just everything is very political here, you know. So, but then what was interesting to me was that a lot of people complained about the lack of power here in Nigeria, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, how can I start telling these people to stop using diesel and, fossil fuels and things like that when there's never constant electricity here in Nigeria? So that's something a lot of us face today. I sent over a slide. I don't know if OC sent it out and if everyone has access to it. So I have a few charts and everything. So I decided to ask a few business owners. I talked to shop owners, spa owners, hub owners, poultry owners, mostly like SMEs or young entrepreneurs, just people trying to break even in their own way. And it came to my findings that most of them, after having conversations and dialogues with them, a lot of them said they spent on average 2,500 naira in that's to buy fossil fuels every day on a daily basis. And I just thought this was very like surprising. I was like, so just for let's do a little math here. About 3.5 will give you 10 liters of diesel, which in Nigeria would burn in a generator, a standard generator, for about 3 to 4 hours. And we have millions of people. Nigeria has over 200 million people, and I'm telling you, most of these people are small business owners or just people just trying to break even, basically the grassroots backbone of the nation. And many of them are spending this amount of money on fossil fuels here. It could, for clarity reasons, because I mean, around the world, people may not really know this, but it could go by that we could go like 48 hours, even 72 hours without electricity. So if you're trying to look at this from a retrospective or in a multidimensional way, you can see how these numbers pile up. Millions of people buying 10 liters, 20 liters every day individually. It builds up. It builds up. So the third slide I shared, there's like a little chart there from the people I asked. I asked about 50, 60 people these questions. So I say it started to take a new dimension. In the past, this was just in 1 week, and this is just here in northern Nigeria. So imagine all over, imagine like the deep north, say like Sokoto, Maiduguri, all those places that I feel like there could go like a week and they wouldn't have electricity. So a lot of people are spending crazy amounts of money on fossil fuels here. So it changed the dialogue of the conversation I was trying to have with them, you know. And for big companies, this may not seem like a big issue. Like, okay, yes, because they have the money to do it. But for smaller companies, this is a thing of the amount of money spent on this is a thing of survival. In Nigeria, here it would I say the minimum wage is about 20,000 to 25,000 naira, and so you're seeing people spending like 2,005 a day. Times that by 30 days, you see the number is like is a lot. They're paying three people's salaries on simply on just trying to keep the lights on, which is something that a lot of other countries, they just take for granted because it's standard. You pay the bills, you get the electricity, but here it's not the same. Um, so I also realized that about 70% of the total for Nigerian, so I decided to do some extra research as well. I found out that 70% of the Nigerian population does not have access to electricity. And I was just like, wow, because I'm here in Nigeria, but I'm fortunate. So I kind of live in a somewhat semi bubble, and luckily for me, there's this constant power in my house, constant power, and this is because of like we're also buying a lot of fuel, a lot of diesel, and all of this, and I'm not like from the Upper East Side kind of living, just a normal person. So I'm thinking those below minimum income, they must be praying, they must be suffering a lot, because if you really think about it, it's like a multifaceted problem. It's not just a twin problem, because I wrote in the slide that it was a twin problem. It's a three triplet problem, if I could say, because it's not just affecting, we're not just fighting like the whole climate change and then the no electricity problem that is affecting like small business owners. It's also a welfare issue, because almost every business or anything that has to do with productivity needs electricity. Be you a baker, be you a shop owner, be you, I don't know, whatever it is, even me, be you like someone that produces cosmetics, you need power to run these things. And millions of people are spending on an average, 3,000, 2,005 to 3,000 naira, buying about 10 liters of diesel, burning it in about 3-4 hours daily. These numbers are just staggering for me. And this is just based on my city runabouts with my like little Opel, finding out like asking a few questions, Imagine if there's like more extensive research for the findings into this. Um, Let me see. So I feel like now it's a good time for us to like really plan, and make like extensive measures. I know initially I wanted to talk about like grassroots. Yes, we need to talk to the grassroots, but we're not just fighting a climate action problem. We're also targeting like almost the welfare slash humanitarian issue right now, because you can't tell people, oh, practice sustainability, practice ethical business, and all these things, and then the truth is they don't have the luxury to do that. They don't have the luxury to do that because there's no constant electricity. They don't to even keep the fans on. Let's talk about this on a normal, even on a domestic issue. It's like 30 degrees outside right now. Imagine you can't even like put on fan, and let's not even talk about an air conditioner. It's just, so it must be really uncomfortable for a lot of people. So moving on to the next, I feel like a few recommendations that could be made, since now there is no proper plan for the whole energy situation here in Nigeria, because I feel Nigeria is moving in the direction of hydrocarbons when most developing countries and developed countries are moving in the exact opposite direction. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so obviously more awareness needs to be. There has to be a dialogue about this situation, because I feel here a lot of people have just kind of gotten used to this thing as the norm, as oh yeah, there's no light, it's fine, let's just go buy gas. It's the normal way of life here, and so a dialogue needs to start, conversations need to start. The government needs to intensify like implementation of like constant energy, and not just constant energy, constant renewable energy, you know. So this is where we're at. I also wrote down some recommendations and suggestions on the government level for renewable energy, which was to develop policies on energy and efficiency, and try to integrate them to the current energy policy, if there is any, I don't know. Promote energy efficient products and appropriate practices, create more awareness for renewable energy and energy efficiency. I mean, this is Nigeria. We're so blessed in this country. There's like wind, there's constant sun, there's like so many other ways we can power the nation, and there's not enough labs, there's not enough like research going into this. There's not even a dialogue, I believe, about this, and it's a major concern. It's a major concern on national level because
If it's possible, unless you have something urgent to say, I would move to another speaker, and I'm
all right,
sure
all
that
right,
then at the end there will be questions that may
all right.
integrate. No, just
Okay.
I would just wanted to highlight the two. I mean, the importance of two persons that made this possible, which is Ozzy connecting each one of you, and Paula in Milan, working together with Ozzy, and now in charge of registering this webinar that then will be edited. So I would now give the floor to Dr. Michelle Ken, that will talk about youth engagement. I mean, she had to consider when we talked earlier that there's no impact, there's no change. And she has a PhD in political science and specializing in international relations. Her work is not only in Cameroon, but in total in other 6 countries. I mean, 6 countries together. And she has been involved for more than a decade in development issues, mainly water, disaster risk reduction, climate, and environment. Dr. Michelle works mainly on advocacy for youth participation in decision-making processes. And since 2017, she's the chairperson of the Water and Climate Network of Central African Youth Organization, which works on capacity building of youth, facilitating their participation, mobilizing partnerships and resources in the field of water resources management and the disasters reduction. Before that, she has worked with the World Youth Parliament for Water, the ANCOW Youth Group, ANCOW, and she was an expert for the 7th edition of the Francophone Youth Parliament of the Assemblée Parlementaire de la Francophonie, and has taken part in many high-level international events. As others here, she's a member of the ad hoc committee of the UNESCO Youth Climate Action Network. Please, Dr. Michelle.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ricardo. Thank you for the opportunity who is given to me to talk about this youth engagement. Talking about youth engagement, there's 2 kinds of youth actually. There are youth who are not engaged because they really don't know what it's all about, talking about climate change, because um as from today we don't have climate change in curricula. For example, if I take my example, I just get in the inside this sector like by hazard. I don't know, because I was working in this, and I was connected to people who are working in this field. So there are this kind of young people who like to be engaged, but they are not engaged because they even don't know what they are supposed to do, or they even don't know what is all about climate change. The other side of young people who are already engaged, they're engaged like activists, and they are working in on the field, at the local level. They're doing very good initiatives, but the engagement are like contributing something positive for the society. But what I want to rely on today is talking about the urgence of integrating youth inside the decision making process. We will say, yes, there are already youth who are activists. Yes, there are many youth who have been part of many summit or many international events. Yes, that's true. But when we see, for example, the declarations that come out from these meetings, youth meetings, are they taken in account in the reality? No. They just refer to, oh yes, we had the youth coming from these countries. Youth are still like we are still instrumentalized. This is not the youth engagement like we want to see it. Youth want to change things, to move their barriers, but they are not considered in their the way they would like to be. We don't Youth should not be just happy to be like invited in such kind of meeting or international summit. We should not be just be comfort to be invited. No, when we are invited, yes, we want to make things change, but at the end, really, for my small experience, there's no at time there's not impact at the country level, for example, or at the regional level. And this is I'm talking for the example of Africa. I don't know exactly all the youth engagement abroad, but I don't know. I know that in Africa we still need to be to make some effort. So such kind of platform is really interesting to raise awareness, not just for the other youth, but we youths who are already engaged in this fight, to say, okay, how are we working? How can we push the lines? How can we contribute in a very good, or not good, but in another level? How can we move the things? So for me, when the reason why I created the network I'm leading, actually, it's a regional network, Central Africa network, who covers six countries. It was because I was like invited everywhere when I was 23, or I don't know. So I was always traveling, attending big summit. But at the end, when I come back to my country, I say, okay, so what's next? And this is very important for you to say, okay, apart from this, all these beautiful countries that I can visit, what is the sense of my fight if I cannot be recognized, if I cannot push something at the national level, at the regional level? And that's why we created this Recojak, the association that I'm coordinating, because we wanted to put youth together, connecting youth, and say, okay, how can we be influencing things inside countries and inside the region? Actually, inside the countries, for example, I've been working with country water partnership, talking about water. Country water partnership, who is who are working with the global water partnership also. So in all those six countries, they are country water partnership, and those youths are working with this water partnership, so that they can be firstly invite, at least invite for those meetings who are very important for them. Was when we are taking decisions. For example, last year we wanted to make there was a workshop because we wanted to make the evaluation of the of SDG 6 on water. Yes, in three countries, the Ricojak were represented, and we have a word to say no. This strategy, we think that we need to push this. This is a very concrete thing, and if at the international level we can also be doing this will be very good. For example, I was attending also a conference that Ismail organized in a couple of days, and I was talking about the fact that young people, the contribution of young people inside the COP, and I said that, okay, firstly, at the national level, when young people organize local COI, there's no representative, your state representative. They're not taking part of these initiatives. Even if you send the reports, I'm not sure they're going to read it. So all those recommendation is good. And also, if you look for the financial team who is supporting those activities, is at time it's always the international organization, the other partners, but not the state. So how can we not influence in our country? I think that we are going to be influence the process at the international level, even at the regional level. We are not also influencing, and at the Africa level, at the Africa Union level, we are not influencing. How can we think that we are going to influence? We are going to make many things, but we are not going to have concrete things. At times, youth program, you say, oh, they think we have to organize, create a youth program, and seniors will gather and say, okay, we think that there's a youth program that we need here, and they call some youth and say, okay, help us to organize this. The youth, they should consider what youth have been doing since, and say, okay, how can we bring it together and create something really that will have the something that will have a very good impact, or a long term impact. So for me to conclude, I'll just say that there are many things that are doing. I don't refuse. It's very good thing that we are doing. People are working on the field, but we need to advocate and see how to work in coalition, how to capitalize the existing network. Thank you.
Well, I would like to ask you before moving to a next participant, if you have an opinion on what is the impact of information and communication on what you have been describing.
Information on the can you explain, because I'm not sure to get all the sense of what you're trying to
Well,
tell.
we're talking on how public information regarding climate change and a sustainable life has an impact on what you are doing, and the difficulties that you are facing. No? Because, I mean, what you say gives the sense that you bring people together and try to mobilize, but that is like more or less like a work from scratch, and that is not being supported by a public information activity. I mean, media, no? Media.
Yes. But the media actually are beginning to support youth, because when you just tap on Google to say, okay, youth activity, you will see Greta. I didn't know her till I was looking for something on the web. So, but if they don't understand the real problem, how can them write in the right way? We used to say in communication that communication is usually influenced by the person who has money. The financial person is telling the line of the communication. But I don't think that this is influencing now, but it's about how can also you raise such kind of debate, so that public information can take it and write in the way that, in the sense that we can make it happen. So for me, public information then they doesn't have the all the measure of this problem actually, but maybe they don't even know, because they don't talk. For example, something
I
that
see.
make me really
Yeah.
bad is when I began to work in the climate and water things. I was maybe 22 or 23, I don't know. And when you are working, you're working, they are inviting you, and when you get out of the range of the age that you are not youth, what they do, they don't invite you anymore, and that's it close like that. So
Yeah.
yes, and it is, we don't have to break it. We need to continue. We need to continue, and this is also a good thing that maybe the public information should raise up. Maybe in 10 years we are going to ask, where is greater again?
So good, thank you. There will be more
Thank you.
questions later. But on the note of the role of media, I would like to move to Ohumu. Ohumu is a journalist, a producer, a climate activist, and she's an Emmy-nominated journalist. Welcome, finally we see you. She has a focus on youth engagement and works through storytelling for climate action, mental wellness, and gender equity. So you could get much more about Homo, because she's a famous journalist. But well, if you go to Google or you appear there, no? Yes. always smiling. So Homo wanted to reflect on two issues that are connected, which is the young people climate action and the financing of innovation and solutions.
Yeah,
To
yeah. Thank
you,
you to
Ohumo.
everybody who's spoken so far.
You have to talk louder.
Oh, oh, okay.
They are not in the radio here. Yes.
Can everybody hear me now? Is it
Yes.
better? Okay. Thank you to everybody who's spoken so far. I really, really like the last person who spoke about making activism more sustainable when people have passed the nice age bracket. I'm going to be talking a little bit about innovative solutions that are being created by young people in Nigeria and some of the alternative ways that we can finance them. So first of all, you should know that Nigeria has two green bonds, and they're not doing very well. Okay, so they were created in 2017 and 2019, and they are worth 10 billion naira, 15 billion naira respectively. And at the time when they were created, it caused a lot of media frenzy, right? Yes,
Yeah,
media
yeah, yeah, yeah.
frenzy because we were the first African country and the fourth in the world to raise a debt instrument entirely for the purpose of financing sustainable environmental projects. But last month, we reported here and in other media houses that actually they were not doing really well. A lot of the projects that they were funding were not being carried out the way they had promised, and they were running at a severe loss. Severe. The last one lost about 30.8 million naira. And where they were supposed to plant trees, it was reported that they planted thousands of trees, and then when investigative journalists went there, it was under 100. And yeah, researchers said that the soil had not been tested. There was a very obvious termite issue that had not been. Basically, there was no research. People just planted trees there and called it a day, right? And stole a lot of money. And for a lot of the climate mitigating and adaptation activities that are taking place in my country, if you wanted to go down that path, you'll get plenty of expenses. So instead, I want to focus on young people who are creating solutions and how I think they can be financed. So one thing you should know about Nigeria is that people like me make up the bulk of the population. We're a very young population. I think we have 18 years as our median age, and we have seen an uptick in technological solutions in recent years. So, for example, we have, and all the Nigerians who are here will know when I call these names. We have PiggyVest, we have Paystack, we have Andela. So they are basically financial technology startups, right? And Andela, no, not Andela, Flutterwave has been called a unicorn. So a startup that has a valuation of over $1 billion, right? What does that have to do with climate change? Let's talk about PiggyVest. So it was founded by three young people, and as of 2019, they helped Nigerians save, young Nigerians save. As of 2019, they were processing about a 1 billion naira every month. Now, they don't only help you save, they help you invest as well. And they have a lot of trust value with young people. Now, imagine if that money was being invested in sustainable startups, right? Currently, they are invested in a lot of agri startups, but that's a lot of money that can be used to finance some of the sustainable solutions. And let's talk a little bit about Nigeria's NDCs. Our primary focus with our NDCs are agriculture and land use, power, transportation, right? So, talking a little bit about transportation, there's a company that most Nigerians don't know. It's called Jet Mover, and they basically make electric vehicles. But unlike Tesla and the bunch of electric vehicle motor companies in Asia, they are focused on buses, not cars. And so that solves really quickly the problem of density. Instead of 10 people driving 10 electric cars that require 10 different batteries and 10 different spare parts, you have one bus that is carrying about 20 people to the same destination. So already you have an uptick in density, and so you have lower emissions. When we talk about sustainable advocacy, for example, sorry that I'm jumping to all of these different places, but when we talk about sustainable climate action, it's very nuanced and it relies on different places, different people in different places making the change. So I've just talked about transportation and I've talked about financial technology. I'd like to talk about governance for a little bit. And the reason why is this: Nigeria has the Department of Climate Change, which is a whole department in the Ministry of Environment, whose sole purpose in life is supposed to lead our climate action. But every Nigerian on this call knows that you cannot trust the Nigerian government for anything. Nothing. They've proven time and time again that corruption and just incompetence is a way of life for them. So you cannot seriously talk about climate action, mitigation, and adaptation without talking about governance. And so, what is the innovative solution that I've earmarked? They're called Elect R, right? So, they're a group that are focused on backing 35 young women between 25 to 45 to run and win elective offices by 2023. That's our next general election. And what do women in elective offices have to do with climate action? Well, one is climate change disproportionately affects women. When we have results of climate change, women are severely affected. And also, think of it like this: it's like saying you have 100 smart people, but only 50 of them are allowed to take up office. We are losing capacity in the form of female leaders who will bring up new ideas, fresh ideas on how to tackle not just creating policy for climate action, but also implementing it, right? So they are funded as well as donor funded. So leading crowdfunding to support Electa will also have a very tangible effect on Nigeria's climate action, right? And why do I think that crowdfunding is a financial model that can work in Nigeria? Because there's proof of concept. So last year in October, we have the NSAS movement. Again, all of the Nigerians here know what I'm talking about. There was a particular group of police officers who were notorious for killing and kidnapping and extorting young Nigerians. And a group of 12 women called Feminist Coalition basically helped to sustain the protests, and all of that was done through funds raised through crowdfunding. So we have the volume of people, we have the wealth, we have the political will, right, to take our destinies in hand and create solutions that the government is not creating for us. The only problem is nobody is bridging this gap. There is no straight line between people who have the capacity and who already have a lot of the initiatives and channeling it to be more deliberately focused on climate action. And because I know I'm going to get asked the question of how the media comes into play here, this is it. The media is a straight line between Jet Mover Electric Bus and between Piggy Vest and between Electa and tangible results for climate action. So it is one thing to educate the general public on what climate change is, how it affects this region, right? And what some of the mitigation and adaptation steps that each person can take is another to then create um, factual, evidence based, accessible knowledge and education and media assets for specific stakeholder groups. And that's a lot of grammar for just saying, if I want to talk to a group of angel investors in Nigeria who I want to invest in sustainable startups, say, for example, there's this startup called Edge. What they do is build affordable homes out of reused containers, shipping containers, right? So if I want to talk to a group of angel funders, which exist, by the way, they're called Future Africa. They're a group of young, relatively wealthy Nigerians who are focused on investing in startups that move the needle in tangible ways. So theirs is not just climate action. They care about electricity, for example, healthcare, and all of that, right? So if I want to talk to those people, I'm going to use language that they already know, that they can understand, and that will move them to fund these people who can then result in a change of land use, which, by the way, is one of our NDCs, right? What do investors care about? They care about the bottom line. They want to know figures. How much are they making in so, and so? If I want to talk to governments which have atrocious records with policy implementation, right? I want to talk to them about how it is in their best interest, and it is in their political interest, and it is in the interest of the people who they have called to serve, right, to take X and X climate action. If I want to talk to the actual startup founders themselves, right, for example, Piggy Vest, which is a financial technology startup that I use as an example. I can say that you are just starting out. If you want to exist as a business, as a unicorn in Nigeria in 2050, you will have to start actively championing climate action. Otherwise, you just will not exist. They are based in Lagos, which about half of the city is under 5 meters above sea level. And so already we have issues with flooding and coastal erosion, right? An increase in sea level rise is just going to decimate them and the island. So I hope I'm communicating. But what I'm trying to say is that um, um, advocacy and communication and climate action media will have to be tailored to these people. So as a recap, let me speak slowly. Okay, there exists solutions, innovations, startups that can take us from X to Y, that can take us to one of our NDCs. The hallmark of it is that we want to reduce emissions by 20% unconditionally. And if we do get outside funding, then we want to increase it by 47%. It used to be 45, we just increased it to 47, right? And in the places where we want to do that and make these changes are in agriculture and land use, in transportation, right? And the ways to do this, the Nigerian model currently is through government funding and then funding from the G20 countries. I am saying that is not feasible, and we do not have the time for the US and the UK and France and China to keep wringing their hands. So, what are the solutions, right? We need region specific feasible solutions created by Nigerians for Nigerians, and these solutions already exist in the space of transportation. You have Jet Mover Electric Bus. In the space of power, you have Energy Insights, which is basically an advocacy group that is looking to push at scale alternative power solutions, right? In the space of policy and governance, you have people like Electa. So these solutions already exist. The problem now is how do we get them enough funding so that they can scale and we can start to see real, tangible, measurable impact. I ask you to look again to the Nigerian people. You need to look to the stores of value that are being created as we speak. The startups that are being founded in Lagos and in Kano and in Kaduna, which are not imaginary, which exist, which have valuations in the billions of dollars. You need to look to solutions that have already, pathways that have already been proven. The NSAS movement proved that crowdfunding is a viable solution for funding social good if the people are motivated. And so to motivate the people with this money to fund these solutions, we have to look to climate action communication that is accurate, that is accessible, and that is clear.
Good. I would. I think that there's a perfect conclusion because I mean the communication issue is central. And personally, I have decided to start raising this among ourselves because it's objective. There's a disinformation, fake news, but we have to become aware that that is programmed, funded, and implemented professionally. Unlike what usually happens from the other side, that tend to think that well, it's just a matter of writing some messages or doing some little things, and that is not a professional activity for which you need to be skilled, have some even psychological elements and inspiration, and to love to do that, because otherwise it doesn't work, let's say.